What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to another Football Manager Wonderkids Shortlist video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Midfielder Shortlist, which is available on the Steam Workshop. To download it, go to FM, go to Downloads, go to Steam, download add-ons directly from Steam. From here, you can just search WorkTheSpace up at the top. As you can see, a few of my files already exist here, and well, the Midfielders Shortlist is available right here. If you do enjoy this file, please do rate it, please do favourite it. I cannot emphasise that enough. It does massively help me out. And well, now you know how to do it, let's talk about all the players on this list. Or probably not all of them, we'd be here for a few hours, but certainly some of the pick of the bunches in terms of some of the players who I think are kind of perhaps being worth the most aware of. That's what I'm trying to say. And we'll start with one of the kind of players who I think is going to become a go-to this year, Ryan Gravenberch. This guy, a Dutch youngster playing for Ajax, 16 years old, very, very young, one of the youngest players on this list. You can see technicals pretty well-rounded, good passing, good vision. His physical's not too shabby either for a 16-year-old. Loads of room to improve, this guy. Definitely one of the players who I've seen consistently develop into one of the best young players in the game. Pedrinho here, I mean, he looks like he has the name of a player who should be superb. You can see here, he starts at Grêmio, and he is, well, 15 years old, and a real kind of young player at the start of your game worth being aware of. Another Ajax player, you can see here, Kenneth Taylor, another Dutchman, a very, very good player. And well, with the shortlist having 400 players, naturally, there's a lot of very gifted players on this list. You are obviously going to have time to get the shortlist yourself and have a look through it and pick out the pick of the bunch. We'll sort by value just to look at the most valuable ones, I think, today, just because there are just probably too many to go through. Of course, with the shortlist, as always, I have included some 21-year-olds. I know that that's going to kick up the debate of, they're not Wonderkids, Jack, but I don't know, I feel like having all the best young players is always just worth showing. There's no harm in having these extra players on this list. And also it gives us a chance to look at players like Arthur here, of course, a player who I signed a few years ago in FM, in one of my beta saves. He was incredible then. He's gone to Barcelona since his Brazilian days, and he is just one of the best defensive midfielders in the game. Phil Foden, you can see here, 18 years old, of course, playing for Manchester City, a unpredictable attacking midfielder, left-footed, one of the kind of best, more playmaking minded, I guess, midfielders of English sides. A player who doesn't always necessarily develop. Another Englishman, I like the fact that this guy's on here, James Maddison of Leicester, 21 years old, looks destined to break into the England squad, I feel like, in the next 12 months. Of course, joined Leicester for £20 million this year. He's a good player. When we go through this list, naturally the players highest on this list tend to be playing in the Premier League, as they're the ones on the kind of silliest contracts. And while speaking of silly contracts, Ruben Neves, not on the silliest of contracts, to be fair to him. Of course, now playing his trade at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Not going to be cheap to pick up, but a good player nevertheless. We've looked at a few 21-year-olds, so let's look at some younger players. And well, the man of the thumbnail, Christian Pulisic, of course, also appeared in our attackers shortlist, but the Dortmund youngster, one of the best kind of wide midfielders in the game this year, out on that right-hand side, can also play out on the left, cutting inside. Another player definitely worth being aware of, Declan Rice, the centre defensive mid, Irish international. He is the best Irish player in the game this year. Starts the game at West Ham, very big value, entirely justified because of just how good he is. Turns into one of the best defensive midfielders. Also have the ability to train him as a centre-back, which is pretty nice indeed. You can see here, Bentancur, I don't know why I fumbled with that pronunciation, but the Uruguayan, of course, playing for Juventus. Very, very well-rounded. Probably one of the best box-to-box players, again, on the older sides of things. Guendouzi, I know Arsenal fans are going to have an interest in. Of course, joined you guys this summer in real life. A hard-working midfielder at 19 years old. Looks like a very, very talented player indeed. Definitely more of a defensively minded player, but that vision, that passing, 13 flares, not too bad either. Really has the ability to be moulded into whatever you want with him. He could become a more attacking midfielder. Definitely could still play a defensive role in the team. Mason Mount on loan from Chelsea. One of the hot prospects who a lot of hype is being built up around, I feel like, alongside Harry Wilson, who's of course also on loan at Derby County. 19 years old, this guy. Absolutely incredible in FM terms. Playing for Derby County, he's kind of got that Will Hughes vibe about him in terms of talented English centre mid for the future. Other players here, Reece Nelson, of course, playing for Hoffenheim now on loan from Arsenal in real life. The youngster looks destined for big things, at least in English football terms. I do always feel like the English Wonderkids get a little bit of generous treating when it comes to games, so let's move away from them. I know that you're not all English, he says as he clicks on Jadon Sancho and looks at his profile. I mean, of all the players being hyped up of English youngsters, I feel like this guy is probably top of the list. Playing for Dortmund in the Champions League and the league regularly, looking well within his remit, you know, not out of his depth, certainly. He's been very, very good indeed. If we just add a new condition, let's get rid of some of the older players. Let's look at 19 years old and younger, see what we've got here. We've got this guy, Shaparenko, who plays for, as you can see here, Dynamo Kiev. 19 years old, attacking playmaker, very, very good player, this guy. Slightly on the higher end of values. Of course, as we go down this list, we're going to see cheaper and cheaper players. I kind of want to find players I've not heard of before, but João Felix deserves a mention. Very good player. Starts at Benfica. I think he has around a £45 million release clause. 54. I got the numbers the wrong way around, but yeah, not a player you can be able to get cheaply, but a very good attacking playmaker. You can see here, Fran Beltran starts the game at Celta Vigo. Very, very good defensive midfielder. Fairly professional personality. Minimum release clause of 40 million means unfortunately he's not going to be the cheapest player in the world to get, but nevertheless a player worth being aware of. Other players on this list, we've got Diatta here, 19 years old, Senegalese youngster. Starts the game at Club Brugge. You have some very, very talented players in game this year. Definitely someone worth having on your radar as a player to be aware of. Matheus Fernandes, one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the game. You can get him for around £7 million the first transfer window, this guy. I've used him in a few of my saves in my own time. Very, very talented, very, very good. Gets a work permit as well, I do believe. I'm trying to think, actually, did I sign him in my saves where I managed in England? Don't take my word for it, he might not, but regardless, very, very versatile centre mid, this guy. You can really train him to be a real rock at the back, or train him to have a little bit more offensive potency about him. Anyway, going through this list, a few players of unusual personalities and nationalities. We've got here Rug, who plays for Zurich, of course, on the younger side of things, 19 years old, only £1 million. And well, we now start to get to some of the bargain buys, I feel like. There's always these players that exist. Players like Tyler Adams, pretty good player, 19 years old, playing for the American national team regularly. A player you can definitely develop into a good little player. Further down this list, players like Robin Hack stand out, playing for Hoffenheim. If we lower the age range even further to kind of the 17-year-old range, players like Lee Kangin, the South Korean player who was very good last year in FM but didn't always reach his potential. This year I've seen him reach his potential quite a little bit more. Of course, if you want to learn more and see more, I guess, about players reaching their potential, I did a video not that long ago on Wonderkids in the future where I holidayed forward 8 years to see how some of these players would get on. Some of these players on this list appear there. You might want to check out that video to see how some of them developed. Matias Palacios, a player who I definitely like, 16 years old, promising attacking midfielder, plays for San Lorenzo, not going to command the biggest fee. And there are actually a lot of very, very good young Argentine players to be aware of this year. We have here Parfait Guillagon. I'm going to be honest, never heard of this guy, but he looks pretty good. He's on this list because he's got that potential. Worth being aware of with some of these more obscure nationality players. They may not appear in your save game depending on your database size. To guarantee that you get all of these players, you would have to have pretty much every league in the game loaded. That is not recommended one little bit. Just be aware of that. If there's any players that jump out at you on this list that you're not able to find in your own save game, that is probably why. I know I've mentioned that in the previous videos in this mini-series, but I feel like I need to repeat myself. Other players here, we've got this guy, Victor. I'm not going to try. You're just called Victor now, I'm sorry. But Polish, very, very good player, 17 years old. And, you know, when you get further down this list, we're going to get to some cheaper players as well. Players who should, with the right love and care, develop. Of course, it's always worth being aware with these youngsters. These are ranked in this shortlist based off their potential, not necessarily their current ability or their likelihood to reach that potential. And additionally, players' potential does vary from save to save. So whilst you might see an absolutely incredible player in one save, please do bear in mind that in another save game, he could turn out to be a very different player. I will say, if you're looking for cheap youngsters, load up Portugal. It's one of the best leagues. You can see here, just looking through some of these players, a lot of very, very talented kind of 17, 18-year-olds who are available for relatively kind fees. You know, they don't command the biggest fees in the world. They're worth picking up. Some of them definitely stand out here. Got players like Rafa Pereira here who can develop into a good little player at Porto. Billy Gilmore, very, very talented Scottish player playing in that centre mid role. 13 passing, 16 vision. Good makings of a playmaker there, of course. Playing for Chelsea at the start of this game, you might struggle to sign him. Palayo Marilla, a player who I featured in my top 10 Wonderkids video, can play as a striker or as a more attacking midfielder. A player who does vary save on save, but in this particular save looks particularly good. Has a very low release clause of £1 million. If you want to see more bargain buys like him, I can't recommend enough to go and check out the video that I did talking about my top 10 Wonderkids this year in FM. Some real bargain buys to be found there. In terms of other players here, you can see this guy, Evangelos Patoludis. That's probably not right, I'm going to be honest. But playing for Standard Liège, 16 years old. Loads of natural pace. Good dribbling, good first touch, good passing, great vision. Could definitely play a role as a more kind of advanced playmaker. And he's only 16 years old, so a player with loads of time to continue to improve and get better. And well, there are so many players on this list, I can't realistically feature them all today. But yeah, I wanted to round off and show you, a good selection of them. In terms of players that I'd strongly recommend, I'm trying to think of players here who are kind of the players I'd be like, just sign at all costs. I think Weston McKenzie is a very, very good player this year. You might struggle to get him away from Schalke. He was very good last year, to be fair to him, in FM, but this year one of the best defensive midfielders in terms of younger prospects. Ezequiel Palacios. This guy, I'll have him down. He is my recommended player of the day in this whole list. A very, very good playmaker. One of the best playmakers in the game. You can get him from relatively cheap from River Plate. Really like the look of this guy. Great passing, great vision, technically gifted. Mental's extremely well-rounded for a 19-year-old. Already playing regular first-team football, you can see here for the under-20s. A player who I would say try and sign if you're one of the bigger clubs. He will come good for you, and not exactly a bargain buy like some of the other players in my top 10 Wonderkids shortlist video. But in terms of players who develop into world superstars, I have seen Ezequiel Palacios repeatedly do it this year in FM in some of my tests. And yeah, he would be the go-to guy for me. Anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up all from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you find some use from this shortlist. Of course, over 400 players here. I was never going to be able to cover them all. Feel free to go and check out the shortlist. It's on the Steam Workshop. It's available down in the description as a link that you can click. And yeah, that is going to be all from me today. Thank you for watching, as I already said. Leave a like if you enjoyed on this video. Subscribe if you're new around here. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.